How often does the Supreme Court reach down into the district court and really get involved in these things?
Very, very rarely, David. Generally, the Supreme Court likes to see a case go through the federal appeals court first. About the only exceptions are when it's already considering an issue in a related case and just wants to add a particular case from the district court level to provide some broader context, or if it's something super duper important like the Nixon tapes case or President Truman's seizure of the steel mills. So this was a very unusual request by the administration, and in a lot of ways not a big surprise that the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to take it.
So, Greg, as we said, there's a stay of the district court against that March 5 deadline. How long is it likely that stay will remain in effect? This is until the district court comes to a final determination. Do we have any sense of how long it might take to get to that final decision?
Well, the Supreme Court urged the lower courts to move quickly, added some language saying it's assumed that they will move expeditiously. One kind of key point to emphasize is that March 5th really stopped having any significance once the district court entered that ruling, and once the administration said, we're not going to seek a stay of that ruling, and we're actually going to comply with it. So for the time being, the administration is accepting renewal applications. No reason to think they're doing anything other than processing those like they would have otherwise. And so even people whose DACA status expires well beyond March 5th may well be getting renewals for 2 years.
So do we know at this point if the justices could revisit the case later on?
Yeah, they certainly could revisit the case later on. They made that abundantly clear in this order. It would have been clear anyway. It just has to go through the normal procedure. So the Ninth Circuit, which is the San Francisco-based appeals court that would normally hear the appeal, will now hear that appeal. We can expect a ruling from them, at some point this year, and probably in a matter of just a few months. And it could well be on the Supreme Court's docket during its next term, during the term that starts in October, or of course we could have a political solution to the whole issue that ends this fight without the Supreme Court having to get involved.
So Greg, explain to us what the lower court's reasoning is behind blocking President Trump's measure to let the DACA protections expire.
So what the district court said in this case, and there's another district judge in New York who said something very similar, was that the administration's explanation for ending DACA wasn't good enough. The explanation was that there were some court rulings earlier on a slightly different program known as DAPA with a P. And that ruling, those rulings had said that the president had suggested that the DACA program was illegal. That was the rationale that the Trump administration used. They said, because of those court decisions, we thought that DACA was probably illegal. And the lower courts basically said that's not a good enough explanation. It may be that you have the ability to end the DACA program, but not for that reason.
So, Greg, finally, does this give Congress some time to work it out, or does it let them off the hook? Does it reduce some of the pressure on Congress who's saying, well, the courts are going to go on for a year or two. We don't have to worry about it right now?
Well, that's a great question, David, and I'm not sure I can give you a clean answer to that. Both sides, to some degree, have kept talking about March 5th because that was the sort of thing that would sort of force action. That would, if you think of that as a deadline, that might force them to deal with it one way or the other. It's obviously a very fraught political issue. Certainly, the pro-DACA forces are going to be pushing hard to get some sort of permanent solution because these people are still in a bit of limbo right now, and they're going to want to get that resolved.